Good afternoon. linedevday Day 2020. Thank you for joining us. This is a 30-minute session. Line Growth Technology. I want to offer you the session on the growth development, expert dev subsidiaries, and role of local bases. Again, this is the 30-minute session. We would like to introduce ourselves. First of all, I am an MC today. My name is Ryota Kuroki. I am Senior Manager of Tokyo Development Team. I'm also from Tokyo Development Team of Line Technology, a front-end engineer. My name is Karino. Dev site development is something that I was in charge of. Thank you. From Sapporo Development Team, I'm Project Manager. My name is Terada. We'll be talking about the creation of landing pages, LP Gen. I am in charge of the development of LP Gen. Thank you. Again, from Line Growth Technology, I am server-side engineer of Fukuoka Development Team. My name is Jodoi. The most recent project is Line News Service Operation Systems Development. Thank you. Thank you very much. With regard to how to proceed with the panel discussion, in the beginning, for about 10 minutes or so, this is a formal talk. I want to talk about the presentation of what's growth dev. And then after that presentation, we want to also discuss the local basis and the roles. We want to have the panel discussion. So let me give you the 10-minute presentation in the beginning. For starters, I want to explain Line. We have so many services. Line is the communication application. Based on that, as you can see on the left-hand side, we have manga or music. In other words, contents-based services, entertainment services. And on the right-hand side, we have shopping and food delivery services. Basically, the services to improve the livelihood and convenience of people, the users. And more recently, we have in the fintech area, the financial services. We also have the AI platform, and that will be represented by a smart speaker device. So we do have or encompass various business areas. We do target various areas. Now, what Line Growth Technology is doing, in what areas are we doing our business? First of all, our mission is to improve services. We want to grow services. To that, we want to refer growth development. In June 2018, Line Growth Technology, the development subsidiary was established. And therefore, this company has mission to focus on growth development. In simple terms, it is very difficult to explain what the growth development is. So let me give you that explanation. As you can see on this slide, on the left-hand side, we have the internal area, inner area, which is not visible to end users. It's the other side of the services. We are trying to improve operational quality in this area. For example, take one single service. Even a single service requires a lot of human resources, many staff members. For example, the Line sticker service, we have to have a screening review services where we have to have human resources. For news service, we have to have many editors in the operation team. And these operation team do use tools. By improving the efficiency of these tools, we'll be able to contribute to the growth of services. So that's one area. It will be very difficult for you to imagine what the service we are trying to grow. So let me give you examples. First of all, this is the system to target the operation improvement, LP Gen. Simply put, this is a system to create landing pages. Originally, the creation of landing pages was really a frequent requirement that required a lot of engineers and designers. So that was a challenge that we faced. In order to solve that challenge, we developed a system for operators to be able to create landing pages easily. So that's our development. As a result, prototyping now takes much shorter time, according to the feedback. Another example is Line News. You would use Line applications, and I'm pretty sure that you have come across the Line News tabs and perhaps recommended article section. This is a section that is personalized, where our personalized articles are displayed, but sometimes inappropriate articles are displayed. In order to solve this challenge, we joined the team. We introduced AI filter. The contents that are displayed will be filtered, and at the same time, although there are some articles which cannot be easily filtered by AI, so in that case, we can offer administration screen where inappropriate articles can be removed manually. So that's the improvement that we can add to this area. There is another business area, that is the outer area on the right-hand side. This would be the services that are used by end users. Service satisfaction and awareness should be improved here. So we are working with service development teams together with them to try to improve and expand this outer area. So that's another mission of our company. So these are some of the services, just some examples. Line food delivery, Line Delima, for example. Food delivery business, especially during the COVID-19, enjoyed a rapid growth. So we need to develop our development organization as well. And we had to add multiple new functions and improve the operation, including stabilization of the service provision as well. So to that end, we actually joined the development team, service development team. And I want to talk about the growth technology roles. Line growth technology, for example, we are not developing services from the scratch. It's the growth area where we are growing and improving services. So continuous service growth requires a certain set of development activities. And sometimes we form a team to do this. Sometimes we work and collaborate with service development teams. So simply put, that is the introduction of line growth technology.
So from now on, let's do the panel discussion. 3 people who are on the screen will be joining us for the discussion. The growth development in many different areas done by them, and also the Tokyo, Fukuoka, and Sapporo bases, the engineers are here. So we can talk about the development based on the multiple local bases. That will be interesting. Thank you very much. All right. Are you ready? Yes, we are ready. Are you nervous? Yes, I am. You are nervous. Okay. From now on, I would like it more casual. Well, but at the beginning, maybe I can give you one question. I'm going to ask you a question now. The growth development, we call this as a growth but maybe definition of the growth are probably different from different person, or some detail you have a different opinion. So why don't we start from Karino-san? What do you think of this growth? To grow services, you really have to make a lot of scheme to increase it. But to make it agile, first of all, platform should be very solid. And also, I am an engineer, so we have to have a good document and also the CIC. And we have to have a good organization to work it in a very agile manner. I think everything should be included in the growth development. Karino-san, in your previous career, I think you were working on the web production. So why did you change, or did you also work on those things in the previous career? I was working for the B2B, and we knew what we have to provide at the end, so that there is no opportunity for us to change the policy in the midway. And we had a fixed schedule, and we just do it as the schedule tells us. So that's what I did. Okay, thank you. Terada-san, what do you think? You are working in Sapporo, and you have any additional comment about the growth development from different perspective? Well, I'm working on LP Gen and also Demaikan. Both of them are totally different businesses, so our roles are different. LP Gen, the line overall, we really have to provide the services, and we try to solve the problems for company-wide problem, try to solve the problem so that they can reduce the cost. Reduction the cost and sales increase, and also the increased awareness level are all important for growing businesses. So we feel so responsible for that. In case of Demaikan, we really have to work on the operation efficiency. So we try to focus on the certain services so that we can maximize our value. So it is interesting to work on the growth development, because we can work on a different perspective. So Terada-san, you are responsible for the project, and you are really focusing on the growth development. Yes, I am focusing and contributing, I hope. So you mentioned about the LP Gen. I also touched upon it. And Demaikan, you mentioned. So there are many engineers involved in this. In case of LP Gen, the line engineer take initiative. In case of Demaikan, you also have to work with line engineer. Do you feel any difference in the type of the engineers? Well, line growth technology engineers are technically more technical, whether it is a server or front end. They are equipped with very strong skills in technology. And the line side engineer, they focus on the service growth. They want to increase the number of users. And they also have the perspective from the business side. So we are the same engineers, but character-wise or quality-wise, maybe a bit different, or perspectives are different. So some are more focused on the services, and of course we have to really think of the services, but there are some differences in the work of the engineer, I guess. Jodoi-san, I have received some questions, so I'd like to ask you that. So in your previous career, you worked on the new development, and then did you think that you were more appropriate or suitable for the growth development? So what about your case? So when I changed my work, So in the previous job, I was working on as the secondary vendor to develop the tools, and we couldn't really get the real voices or feedback from the end users. But I had an interview with Line company, and we discussed about the we can really develop the system, and that the system can contribute to the efficiency of the users. So Line employees are our end users, so I can get the feedback, direct feedback from the users, and I am developing the internal services for the Line News, and I get the feedback like, thank you very much, it made my work much more efficient, that type of very direct feedback. So that's why I like it, and also I really want to get involved in this growth strategy. Thank you very much. You are passionate. So I also participate in an interview of new hires, and rather than just developing services and then that's the end of the job, but I think you feel more wanted when you work on the continuous work of the development, so that you can get happy feedback from the users. So Jodoi-san, you are one of them. So you mentioned about the Line News, but even other project, you get feedback, and you really want to work on increasing the services or sales. So yes, the project I've experienced so far, yes. Thank you. You can continue. Okay. Thank you. Well, I have received a few more questions. Let me ask another one. Growth development. What type of benchmark do you use to see the efficacy of the growth development? The comprehensive benchmarks are a bit difficult, but what about the float area? Any benchmark, Kariya-san? There is no standardized benchmark for each project. We set the KPI ourselves and measure the benchmarks. So there is no one standard benchmark for Line, but for each business domain, you set the KPI yourselves. Yes, that's true. So for that, maybe any unique Line way that you are doing? Any specific? I don't think so. No. Okay. So in our case, at Line, front end, UI, UX are already standardized. So maybe branding is one point that you have to give thought.
Also, I see some other questions here. For each location, do you have different expertise? How do you work together between different locations? So this difference between locations, I'd like to try to explain that myself. Expertise are the same. It's a common thread. Within Line Growth Technology, we do have multiple locations, but we have the same set of expertise. But how do we work together? How do we collaborate? It depends on each project. So I'd like to ask questions to Mr. Terada. The same question to you. As Mr. Kuroki said, project by project difference is there. The most recent project that I was involved with, we are working with HR members in Tokyo and also some resources in Fukuoka. on Sapporo side, I myself and others are also involved. And PM was in Fukuoka. Product owner is in Tokyo. So that's one example. So human resources are selected not based on locations, but trying to pick right people for the right project. Right skills are selected. And I think that's the emphasis that we place on in terms of selecting members. Especially a lot of us work remotely from home. So I believe differences between locations are less and less. Especially for the past 1 year, we have a hybrid organization, hybrid team. Having said that, basically we have online communication. But do you have specific ideas to try to improve the collaboration when you work from different locations? More than ever, we make sure that we have sufficient communication. Even for a small thing, we use Slack. Sometimes we simply have to tell certain things to somebody else, but since we are located at different places, even small thing should be communicated through Slack. We make sure that we share a text. We have the common Slack channels amongst the team members. We set rules for setting up a new Slack channel, and we are trying to communicate and share with team members throughout the development project. When something happens, if there is a challenge, we have a Zoom meeting to try to continue on with the development. So you do use tools to try to shorten the physical distance. I can understand that. Since we are talking about different geographical locations, I want to delve into that. Mr. Jodoi, you are working on Line News project. So planning is in Tokyo, development team is in Fukuoka. Fukuoka. So that was the team. But back then, we were not working remotely. A lot of projects were proceeded offline, not online. But you were not able to meet physically every day. Was there a benefit and the shortcomings of that situation? During that offline communication, because we are far away, the advantages and shortcomings, I wasn't aware of either of these. If I miss something in a meeting, I won't be able to talk to somebody immediately. Sometimes you can use a whiteboard to draw a picture or something. You can't do that, but because of that, we were able to have frequent communication in Slack or Zoom or email. It made it easier for us to ask questions. So I think the advantage was much larger than the shortcomings. So the original development you were doing did not really matter whether you are located at certain places or far away. So you were able to actually shorten the distance, making it easier to collaborate. It doesn't really matter where you are located. That's true. Thank you very much. All right, then. There are some questions that have to do with remote work. Specific tools and technologies that could help for us to be able to work remotely. Did you find any specific amazing tool that you recently used to make it easy to work from home as an expert of working remotely? I do use Nero recently. Yes, Nero, yes, I agree. When you have a formal topic to discuss, Line is agile, so we try to review the formal meeting, we have that culture. But freely, when you want to get together, it used to be the physical whiteboard, but we don't have that whiteboard. The tool that can replace the whiteboard could be Niro. Mr. Jodoi, you mentioned earlier that we need to have a whiteboard, something that can be a substitute to whiteboard. To overcome that challenge, Miro has been introduced. It used to be on a trial basis, but soon everybody started to use it, so Miro is now a standard in our company. Thank you very much. Now I see a new question. When you carry out a team project, do you use Scrum? So that's the question. I guess it depends on a project as well. Mr. Terada, your project, do you use Scrum a lot or Agile development? Yes, Agile is quite popular. It is popular. And yes, we are trying to make the best use of Scrum. But Agile or Scrum are designed for us to work with customers directly, physically. That was the principle. So what cannot be done has to require some arrangement to the Scrum. Mr. Jodoi, in your project, similarly, do you also use Scrum as well? In our team, yes. Basically, we do adopt Scrum, as Mr. Terada said. We cannot strictly follow the Scrum's guidelines. So it's not a rigid application of Scrum. To make sure that every member team can be using this easily, so we have added some adjustment. But the basis is still Scrum. So internally, you have customization in each project rather than having a rigid standard. Mr. Karino, you're working on the front end. I think your team organization is different depending on the team that you work with. Scrum, waterfall development, do you have both of them? The project that I participate, there is no waterfall usage. For new service development, we have to be speedy and agile. So rather than having fixed plan, we need to be able to be flexible, being able to change plans when necessary. It depends on how to proceed project. I think overall, you have to pick the one that fits best for a specific project. Scrum, Agile, both of them are a boom. I believe it's mainstream. I still see a lot of questions coming in. It will be nice to be able to continue on, but we are running out of our time. So for this session, I would like to conclude this session at this point. Thank you for joining us.